រៀនសុវណ្ណភូមិជាសាលាចំណេះទូទៅខ្មែរធំជាងគេនិងល្អជាងគេនៅកម្ពុជា
Invite the first speaker of the proposition team to give a speech. Please welcome. The time starts when you begin the first word.
Good morning, honorable judges, respected opponent team, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Yochandali. I am the first speaker of the proposition team. For today's motion is this House belief that developed countries should compensate to developing country for the impact of climate change. We, the proposition team, strongly agree on this topic. As the first speaker today, I'm going to present my argument, which is historical responsibility and climate justice. Our second speaker will be rebut and present his argument, which is disproportionate impacts on developing country. And our third speaker will be rebut and summarize our 10 cases. Ladies and gentlemen, before I begin my speech, I would like to define some key terms related to the topic. First, developed country means nation that industrialized early, building their wealth on fossil fuel. Second, developing countries, nation that still building their infrastructure. And third, compensate, delivering structured financial support specifically dedicated to loss and damage. Ladies and gentlemen, for over 200 years, rich nations grew wealthy by burning fossil fuel. According to the data from Climate Change Performance Index, show that a group of industrial countries generate vast of majority of historical emission, with the U.S. alone accounting for 20%. They started the problem and they filled our shared atmosphere with greenhouse gases. The biggest injustice is that rich country got 100% of benefit of economic benefit of industrialization, when poor countries suffer the physical consequences. Many developing countries, nations contribute almost nothing to global pollution, yet they still suffer the flood, long drought, and rising sea level. When a huge storm destroyed a developing country, it is the direct result of pollution from rich nations. The World Bank showed that during recent historic flood in Pakistan, the country suffered over $30 billion in damage. Pakistan contributes less than 1% in global pollution. But so it is unfair to expect them to pay for a $30 billion. Developed country broke the climate and they must pay for it. In any fair system, the party with the resources has duty to help solve the crisis. Developed nations have financial resources and advanced technology to absorb the climate. Developed nations do not. As the Union of Concerned Scientists argue, climate impact currently outpacing the ability of poor community to survive. When developed nations must spend billions fixing destroyed infrastructure, that money is stolen from school, healthcare, and fights against poverty. By forcing poor countries to pay for a crisis they did not create, rich nations keep them in trap. Compensation is the only way to level with the playing field. To sum up, climate compensation is not a favor. It's a debt that a rich country owes to the rest of the world. It is an application of polluter pay principle on global scale. If you believe in fairness and justice, we cannot reject this motion. Developed countries cause the problem, they have the money to fix it. And it is time for them to pay. I urge a vote in favor of the motion. Thank you.
Thank you for your interesting performance. I would like to give Jack some time to consolidate the score. Next, I would like to invite the first speaker of the opposition team to give a speech. Please welcome. The time start when you begin the first words.
Good morning, school coordinator, respect judges, and our you audience. I'm Choice Maratana. I'm from the opposition team. Today we are debating under the motion developed country should compensate developing country for the impact of the climate change. Before I start my speech, I would like to stand against the proposition argument. Without the industry, eras of the past human technologies would have never evolved. And so is the advanced in engineering. Successful nation overcome past mistakes by creating better technologies, not signing cash checks. True responsibility is about using our modern tools and knowledge to build a better future, not paying for the past. Today we will present 2 points, material provision and self-sufficiency. To understand this debate, we must look closely at the exact word of the motion. The proposition might try to argue that the word compensate just means to give general hope or to share technology like tools and blueprint. But let us look why this word were chosen. And if the motion wanted a simple debate about helping, it would like to say developed country should provide aid and support to developing country. According to Article 31 of Vienna Convention, word in international agreement must be used with according to Article 31 of Vienna Convention, word in international must be used with must follow strict use for the diplomatic meanings. The world in the world of global politics, the international Court of Justice and the United Nations. The United Nations always use the word compensate to mean one thing, direct cash transfers and money payout. When you look at a real example, when the UN created the loss and the image fund for the climate compensation, they did not build a library to share tools, but they built literally build a bank account and with the world bank to send money using cash or day-to-day conversation. Definition for a serious topic is not professional. Furthermore, pure money model is simply does not work in real life. When a patient is critically sick, they do not need a doctor to hand them a stack of cash. They need a proper medical equipment, direct care, and real medical to survive. Money by itself doesn't stop a flood or build a seawall. In fact, according to the World Bank and the top four of the rule said that using a lot of money is useless. Spending a lot of money, sending a lot of money is useless. This is because climate damage climate damage cannot be measured with a simple price tag, and it cannot. And the nation doesn't care about national borders. By trying to change the meaning of the compensation into a give back of technologies, the proposition is running away from their own motion, and they are admitting that our plant material provision is the only real solution. We force them to stay back in their box and defend broken money model, while we stand for direct and practical material. Thank you.
Thank you for your amazing performance. I would like to give Verboject some time to consolidate the score.
Next, I would like to invite the second speaker of the proposition team to give a speech. Please welcome. The time starts when you begin your first word.
Good morning, school coordinator, honorable judges, and respected opponents. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Dung Hinara. I am the second speaker of the proposition team. We are debating on the notion developed countries should compensate developing countries for the impact of climate change. But before I get into my topic, I would like to rebut some of the opponent's point. The opponent says that developed countries should not just provide money, they should also provide actual materials and concrete assets, like shipping solar panels, building physical seawalls, and providing water filtration tanks. But the opposition plan for material provision is deeply problematic. It is a form of paternalism, where rich nations decide what developing countries need rather than letting that country choose for itself. Its community needs to relocate families away from a sinking coastline. Sending them a box of solar panels doesn't help. The true compensation means giving them valuable nation the financial power to dictate their own recovery. Now I would like to get to my point. Developing countries are on the front line of this crisis. They face the most violent weather, the worst drought, and the fastest rising sea. However, they completely lack the financial resources and advanced infrastructure to recover or adapt. Without direct compensation from the wealthy nation that caused this mess, millions of innocent people will face extreme poverty, severe food shortages, and permanent displacement from their homes. According to data from the United Nations Development Programme, these small island nations combine to produce less than 1% of global greenhouse gases. They did not build the coal factories and they did not create fossil fuel crisis, yet they are literally facing extinction. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change warned in an official report that islands like Tuvalu, Kiribati, and the Maldives are being swallowed by rising sea levels. In fact, scientists estimate that by 2050, half of Tuvalu's capital city will be permanently flooded by tidal waters. When a small island state disappears under the ocean, it's not just property damage, it's a destruction of entire culture, a history, and a sovereign nation. These countries do not have billions of dollars required to build massive seawalls or relocate entire population. They are paying the ultimate price for a crisis that they did not create. This is not an environmental problem. This is a human rights emergency. In conclusion, the opposition cannot ignore the voices of 65 million people living on the world's most vulnerable nation. If rich countries do not compensate these nations for loss and damage, They are saying that survival of poor communities are less valuable than corporate process. We cannot allow the polluters to walk away from the destruction they cause. We must demand fairness and we must demand compensation. For this reason, I proudly support the motion. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your wonderful performance. Now, I would like to give our judges some time to consolidate the score. Next, I would like to invite the second speaker of the opposition team to give a speech. Please welcome. The time starts when you begin your first word.
Good morning, honorable judges, valued audience, and beloved opponent. My name is Noor Swanada, and I'm the second speaker from the opposition team. Today, we are going to argue on a motion that stated developed countries should compensate developing countries for the impact of climate change. So, I am the second speaker will be talking about our second point, which is self-sufficiency. Before getting into our point, I would like to point out some of the proposition argument. They claim that people in developing countries are starving because of severe food shortage. But however, short-term relief is important, but long-term reliance does not prevent future crises, and money without good government often goes to waste. Development requires accountability, not funding. And our first speaker have clearly proved that the word compensate means transferring cash. By defending a plan where large nations send huge amount of untrackable cash, it violates the law under the international laws, under the Vienna Convention, and also it violates the auditing accounting rule made by the major international banking institution. Foreign cash is sitting uselessly in a bank account if the nation did not know how to handle crisis. Now let's talk about our second point. By giving a country a permanent stream of climate compensation checks, trap them in a bad loop where they only depend on others. It turned independent countries into a permanent welfare recipient, people who live on free money. And according to our second main analogy, students and teachers. Imagine a student who is failing a difficult math exam. If you simply hand them prizes whenever they fail, would these help improve their skills? No, it actually hides the problem while leaving the student completely unable to pass. This is exactly why global organizations like the United Nations, UNFCCC, and the NGO were created. They were never meant to act as an ATM machine. They were made to act as teachers. The purpose is to provide school system, policy training, and technology plans so that developing countries can build their own internal strength. True strength must be built from within. As Mahatma Gandhi famously observed that true working together is only possible when nations are fully independent and self-sufficient. If depending on others, it is not a partnership. It is an anchor that pulls you down. As we see the truth clearly right here in our own nation, Cambodia. Following decades of difficult historical challenges, our nation did not achieve its modern economic growth by relying on foreign aid or international handout. Our nation chose the prouder, lasting path of self-sufficiency. We invested deeply in our own people, modernized our school, and built our own infrastructure. We relied on the hard work of Cambodian people. To say that developing countries are helpless victims who can only survive if wealthy nations mail them cash handout completely hurt the proven of independent and intelligent and the power of the developing countries worldwide. For this reason, we, the opposition team, strongly disagree with this motion. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your interesting performance. Now, I would like to give our judges some time to consolidate the score.
Next, I would like to invite the third speaker of the proposition team to give a speech. Please welcome. The time starts where you begin the first word.
Good morning, honorable judges, respected opponent team, and distinguished guests. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Lee Soo-jing, and I will be the third speaker of the proposition team. As the third speaker, my role is to rebut arguments presented by the opposition team and reinforce why our side firmly stand with the motion that developed countries should compensate for developing countries for the impact of climate change. But before I go into my speech, I would like to rebut what the opposition has said. They said that developing nations should focus on self-sufficiency. But how can a country be self-sufficient when climate change is actively destroying their ability to produce food and access clean water and maintain infrastructure? When raising sea levels, salinize, ruin with salt a country's agricultural land, or when a massive flood wipes out 10% of their GDP, overnight self-sufficiency is stolen from them. Our first speaker has already established the framework of this debate. They proved that rich nations have a clear historical responsibility for the climate crisis because they built their wealth by burning fossil fuel. My role as the third speaker is to introduce our second major contention focusing on human reality of this crisis today. Our second argument is about disproportionate impact on developing nations. The countries that suffer the most from climate change are often least responsible for causing it. Developing nations are on the front line of the crisis. They face the most violent weather, the worst drought, and the fastest rising sea. However, they lack the financial resources and infrastructure to recover or adapt. Without a direct compensation from the wealthy nation, millions of people will face extreme poverty, severe food shortages, and permanent displacement for their homes. First, consider small islands like Tuvalu, Kiribati, and the Maldives. These small islands produce less than 1% of the global greenhouse gas emission. Yet they are facing literal extinction. Reports by the Intergovernmental Panel Climate Change have showed that these small islands are being swallowed by rising sea levels. By 2050, half of Tuvalu's capital city is expected to be permanently flooded. Second, look at the Horn of Africa, including Somalia and Ethiopia. This region recently suffered from the worst drought in 40 years. The people there are mostly small farmers who contribute less than 0.1% of global emission. Yet the climate-induced drought destroyed most of their crops, killed their livestock, and pushed over 20 million people to the brink of starvation. In summary, the proposition cases stand on two undeniable facts, which are developed countries caused the problem through centuries of industrial pollution, and developing countries are losing their land, their food security, and their lives trying to pay for a crisis they did not create. Thank you.
Thank you for your amazing performance. I would like to give our judge some time to consolidate the score. Next, I would like to invite the third speaker of the opposition team to give a speech. Please welcome. The time starts when you begin the first word.
Good morning, honorable judges, respected opponents from the proposition team, and our valued audience. My name is Song Suman Satika, and I am the final speaker of the opposition team. Today, it is my privilege to be able to evaluate today's case with clear analysis. The core conflict today is simple. Does transferring cash to a developing nation help to build a better society, or does it hide the deep problems that leave that society exposed? Ladies and gentlemen, the opposition team stands firmly on 2 points, which is about material provision and self-sufficiency. Our first point focuses on real-world reality. Transferring a nation a permanent stream of cash does not help the nation. In fact, it does not instantly build a wind turbine, a drainage network, a solar panel, or a high-grade seawall, because they have no engineering skills yet. This is why global organizations like the United Nations, the UNFCCC, and the NGO were created in the first place. They were never meant to act as ATM machines. They were meant to act as a guide for these countries to follow and create. Our second point focuses on self-sufficiency. Ladies and gentlemen, handing a permanent stream of climate compensation checks traps developing countries in a bad dependency loop, making independent countries becoming reliant on money. This is why the proposition point, which is their solution is about cash, completely fails real-world operations because according to the Big Four and the World Bank auditing firms, climate damage cannot be measured with a simple price tag because nature has no limits. This is why it is hard to calculate a precise cash receipt for a broken ecosystem. As a result, sending huge amounts of cash to a developing nation does not help the nation. It in fact violates strict anti-money laundering laws used by banks like ABA and CIMB and ACDAN. Lastly, I would like to say that according to the International Court of Justice and the United Nations, words in global politics must follow their strict diplomatic meaning. The word compensate means direct money payouts, and this form of help does not help the country because it causes long-term potential risks like corruption, debt, and dependency loops. Consider our teacher and student analogy, everyone. When a failing student is struggling to pass an advanced math course, a good teacher does not hand them cash and tell them to go learn on their own. A good teacher teaches them because cash does not help to improve their skills, it only treats the grade. This is why global organizations like the United Nations, the UNFCCC, and the NGO were created in the first place. They were meant to act as a guide so developing countries can learn and develop their own society. Ladies and gentlemen, true strength must be built from within. As Mahatma Gandhi famously observed, true strength only comes from working on yourself. And we can see this truth most clearly right here in our own country, Cambodia. Following decades of historical challenges, Cambodia did not achieve its amazing economic growth, city developments, and regional stability by relying on foreign cash. But we achieved it by choosing the prouder path, which is about self-sufficiency. We invested in our own people, we modernized our own schools, we built our own physical infrastructure, and we relied on the hard work of Cambodian people. And as my second speaker beautifully stated, short-term relief is nothing without long-term accountability. The proposition wants you to sign a paper contract and walk out, but the opposition wants you to build a better society, a society that is resilient and independent. Ladies and gentlemen, we have shown you the engineer, they have shown you the money. And for these reasons, the opposition must defy this motion. Thank you.
Thank you for your interesting performance. I would like to give Project some time to consolidate the score.
Next, I would like to invite the opposition team to give a profile speech. Please welcome. The time starts when you begin your first word.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's me again, Sawanara, and I'm here to do the reply speech. Now, let us take a look at the two different votes that we have brought. The proposition team brought a vote based on paper money. We, the opposition team, brought a vote based on international laws, practical reality, and long-term dignity. The first major class was about the mechanism of hope. The proposition team spent the entire time preaching about historical guilt, but they failed to defend the word compensate. By defending a model where large nations send internal amount of untrackable cash, it violates the law of the international under the Vienna Convention. Furthermore, this model also violates the strict anti-money laundering and auditing guidelines established by the major international banking institutions and the Big Four auditing firms. A bank transfer cannot build a seawall. True accountability means transferring real materials like green technology and heavy machinery. Our second class was about the future of developing countries. The proposition team model is trapping the independent countries into an independency loop. As our student teacher's analogy shown that financial help treat the great, it did not help teach the student at all. And as Mahatma Gandhi famously observed that by depending on others, it is not a partnership, it is an anchor that pulls you down. And as we see this truth clearly right here in our own nation, Cambodia. Following decades of difficult historical challenges, our own nation did not give up. We relied on the hard work of our own people, we built our own infrastructure, and we relied on ourselves. We built it through internal education, infrastructure, and the hard work of our own people. We stand for real engineering, international laws, and true banking accountability. For this reason, we, the opposition team, strongly stand against this motion. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your wonderful performance. Now, I would like to give our judges some time to consolidate the score. Next, I would like to invite the proposition team to give a reply speech. Please welcome. The time starts when you begin the first word.
Good morning, it's me again. My name is Duanara. I'm going to do a reply speech for the proposition team. The opposition team wants you to take this crisis as a series of unfortunate natural disaster where country is on its own, but the proposition has shown you that real world where action have consequences and global justice must apply. The opposition says developing countries should focus on self-sufficiency. But how can a country be self-sufficient when climate change is actively destroying their ability to produce food, access to clean water, and main infrastructure? When rising sea levels salinize a country's agricultural land, and when a massive food flood wipes out 10% of their GDP overnight, self-sufficiency is stolen from them. First, who caused this crisis? We brought you official data from the Climate Change Performance Index showing that developed nation created the vast majority of historical emissions. They built their immense wealth from fossil fuel. The principle of justice is clear. Those who cause the harm must bear the cost of repairing it. Second, who is paying the price? We show you data from the World Bank and United Nations regarding the $30 billion destruction of Pakistan and small island states facing literal extinction. These developing countries contribute almost nothing to global pollution, yet they are losing their lands, their food security, and their lives. In conclusion, compensation is not charity, it is a debt owed to the most vulnerable communities on earth. Developed countries cause the damage and they have the money to fix it. I urge a proud vote for the proposition. Thank you.